children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say. Mother, mother, can you keep them in the dark for a while? Can you have a proper wedding world? Oh, mother, father!
We're going to bare metal this thing. It'll be a show truck and it's a tow truck. So this is just more to scuff it up, loosen anything that's not going to stick. And yeah, the paint that I'm using, which is hempel black, it'll go over this and here, no worries. Like it won't look flash, but the textured look isn't really a bad thing. Looks more like an underbody. But yeah, once it goes on there, it'll pretty much seal and nothing should really get through. Once all that's done, then I will seal all the joins and everything like that, just to stop any chance of anything rushing between panels and shit. Pretty much what I always do. And then, yeah, we should be pretty golden after that. Also did the firewall as much as I can. I'm still gonna go in there with just a hand wire brush and some 80 grit, just clean up where I've welded and a few other spots where I couldn't get the grind or anything in. And that's just mainly for the black to stick there as well. And then yeah, pull all the wiring back when I paint it and it all should be pretty good. And then also pulled this little side piece out, so this goes in under there. It's kind of like the heater one over on the far side, but yeah, I call this the felony flap. Took that out because I can actually get into that section there. I'll show you around here. So this section here usually rusts out in the bottom like mine did, and they're those boxes that I folded up to go under here and over here and all that sort of shit. These ones are really good. So this cab isn't as bad, but still not great. But yeah, it does pay to clean them out when you do, because as you can see, all that shit and all that shit come out of here. So that's the drain there. So when the water rushes in, comes down, drains out here. As you can see, it's still falling down, washes out onto the ground. When they block up, then the water sits in there. All the stuff goes yucky and shit. The bottoms rust out, which is what happened to mine, especially with the wood chips and stuff, because I used to work down the port, driving wood chip dozers and whatnot. So yeah, it doesn't help, but yeah, it always pays. If you got the heater out, take them out, even maybe just do it, yeah, if you're going through the truck and fishing lane and everything, to do this, just to yeah, save the sections if they're still good. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for tonight. Looks like we're on for the tins, so hopefully not get too written off, and we'll be back out here tomorrow. And this has actually done a lot quicker than what I thought, so I think we might be getting on the chassis and whatnot tomorrow. So I need to get all the oil and shit that's all caked on off, start cleaning up, pull all the wiring back. And yeah, hopefully most of this will be done and I can get into some black soon. Fingers crossed. Last night got out here and did a few bits. So there's these big square holes, same as my cab. I ended up welding them up, smoothing them off. Originally there was just like a round sticker put over there, and it's just another hole for water and shit to get into, and a sticker's not really going to do jack shit. So it's, while I'm here, I may as well smooth it off. That's what I've done. Same the other side. So these are the inspection holes, so you can get your hand in there and clean up and do whatnot. Also, it's a couple of spots need looking at, plus for some reason there's a little bit of water in there. I'm guessing the roof leaks. I guess the roof leaks. Great. So yeah, I'll build plates to go here, I'll bead roll them. I was going to do that tonight, but someone's decided to piss off with me folder and me bead roller and stuff, so that's definitely stuffed that job up for the night. So just a quick run over with the drill, see how this is going to come up. It's coming up not too bad actually, so it shouldn't be too big a job. I've also got the grinder tonight with the wheel, so I'll probably rip into it on the flat areas, and that should do a pretty good job there. I'll clean up as far as I can, Not really keen to go under the cab, but I know I've got to. I'm going to get in that now, get it cleaned up, and we'll go from there. Might have went a bit dark on the tan, I reckon. So I've cleaned up pretty much as I can and as well as I can. It's not perfect, but it'll be a hell of a lot better than what there was. I've pretty much done everything except for calipers and the shields and that for the rotors. I'll do that when I get the wheels off it. I'm going to probably look at going through all the brakes on this thing, and just for peace of mind, just because it's going to be so heavy once you put a car on it and whatnot, and your brakes are pretty much your life support. Also, I don't really want this thing losing brakes or anything, and you end up writing your pride and joy that's on the back off as well. So. Close your eyes, do it like you wanna. Close your eyes and do it like you wanna. Said you found the door. All underneath as clean as I'm going to get it. Also removed the tank just because it was blocking a lot of chassis rail and floor. So that's out. It's probably a good thing because it's still half full of fuel. Not sure what fuel it is because it smells more like thinners. I am happy to get that job out of the way. As you can see, it's not very fun getting covered in shit. I did wear a mask this time as much as I could, but it just got to the point where everybody knows that your normal paint masks aren't built for glasses, and yeah, you couldn't see shit because you'd fog them up. It's the same issue with those shitty masks that the government wants us to wear, but anyway. And I prefer to wear my glasses and not cop a piece of wire to the eye, so the mask ended up coming off after a while, and yeah, there's a couple of bits I had to get into and they were pretty dusty, so I've now worn half of it. Also, while I was here, I ended up straightening the rocker out because it was actually crunched up in here and it was scrubbing the door every time you opened it. The door is dropped a little bit, does need adjustment, but yeah, it was still scrubbing. And yeah, so what I've done is pulled it down, rolled it out, and then redid the radius to try and sort of match the ends. And yeah, it's not 100%, but it is a hell of a lot better than what it was. And you could see it was pushed up in here because it was all kinked. It wasn't a slow radius like what it is now. And yeah, when you open the door now, it's not touching. When he reached the ground, the sound came from behind him. Silhouette at the top of the stairs, he closed his eyes, without saying his prayers, and in the silence he descended. She said, close your eyes, do it like you wanna. She said, close your eyes, do it like you wanna. Close your eyes, do it like you Everything out of the way, hole's gone, all smoothed off. It's not 100% level, but it'll literally only need a skim more than a big ass hole in the middle with some sketchy bit glued underneath. So the reason it was a little bit harder was because when people do that, they tend to hammer the actual edge of the hole down, or just hammer the whole panel down. And the reason they do that is they don't end up with any highs, and they can just load a heap of filler over there and not give a shit. If you don't really care, yeah, it's probably the best way to do it, but it makes life pretty hard for the next bloke, especially when it was here, because I hammered that down, and also the aerial I reckon got hit at some point because it was on this stub and it looked like it was snapped off, and it was actually crunched in sort of that way and all low around here, so when it gets hit back, pivots, creases in there. With both of them, that actually pushed this whole panel down and ended up with the panel being loose, so it was sort of either doing one or the other, wouldn't stay sort of nice and tight like it is now. So what I actually did was got the dolly, put it in here, hammered it up, and then also I come in through here on the inside and use the head of the hammer backwards, so I was actually sort of swinging back like that. It was just the only way I could really do it, but it ended up bringing a lot of it back up. But you could see I was using the air as well, and it's sort of a shrink technique, so I welded in a few spots, hit it up with the dolly, hold the pressure on it, cool it with the air, and that it will actually tighten the panel back up. And as you can see, it's definitely tightened the panel back up, because there's no point leaving it loose like that, filling it full of a heap of filler, and having it sort of move. It'll just crack away and turn to shit. But I thought I'd get into the fuel tank, try and get that sort of clean, stripped up and whatnot. But I think I might leave it for the moment, because I've got both the sender and the breather out of it, just because there's a heap of fuel in there, and I couldn't go out the fuel tube because it actually goes down sort of yay far. So you can imagine trying to get fuel out of that. But what I found, and I probably had a good suspicion it was going to be like this, is so this is the actual fuel sender, or the fuel gauge sender, and yeah, that's what the inside of the tank looks like currently. So that's pretty shit. And what would happen here is if I put that in, decided to run it, or the other new fuel, especially say if I chuck 98 or whatever in it, which I've got a tendency to do, we'll actually flush it all, and that shit will just be forever clogging up fuel lines, pumps, filters, and you'll have a shit time. So what I'm gonna have to do is try and come up with a way to clean it out. I don't think I'll paint it now, just because, yeah, we will be handling it more, and half of the paint's just gonna get ripped off. So no go for that. So a ripper day today, weather's on point, finally, compared to what it was yesterday. Probably too good a day to be out in the shed, but gotta make the most of it. So everything's here, ready to start painting. I've got the spray bottle now with some microfiber towels. So what I'm gonna do is spray that all over everything and just give everything a nice clean up. By doing that, just helps the paint stick as well as it can. If you just go leaving it, it's probably got a fine film of dust on it, and yeah, you probably find that the paint won't like it as much. It's not going to be the nicest finish, but it's chassis black, and I'm kind of not really giving two shits about how flash it looks. Got myself just a spray bottle. Originally it was wax and grease remover. That would also work, but I've just filled it full of Prepsol because it seems to be pretty good as well. So I've got blankets and stuff laid down, just so I don't get my ass handed to me for coating the floor. But yeah, pretty much spray the whole thing. And this will also help wash any sort of extra shit that's been laying there off. And yeah, pretty easy way to do it. You could also probably try it in spray gun on like a really sort of fanny sort of light spray, and then yeah, sort of run it at a low pressure. You probably get the same thing, but this also works. Hell of a lot easier than just dipping in the tin, wiping it on with a rag and whatnot. So yeah, definitely something to think about if you're ever in trouble. So everything's all cleaned up, a few bits taped off, paint's mixed up, so let's get into it. Out. So fairly easy to spray. I ended up spraying the first tin and or first pot, and sort of realised it needed a bit more thinners just because I didn't have the right tip in the gun. I think it's a 1.7, probably should have been up sort of closer to a 2, but anyway, put a little bit more thinners in it and it kind of worked out alright because it sort of gave me a bit more distance, and yeah, it sort of wetted on pretty nicely. And then yeah, the third one pretty much did the same. Wetted a little bit more just because I had to get inside the plenum and stuff and spray as far in as I can, in here, around there, so all inside stuff, which yeah, was making quite a bit more work for the spray gun, but I think I've got most of it. Probably the centre of the plenum I might need to sort of feed a tube in there and spray it, but for the most part it's nicely painted now. Also, haul in under the dash, spray it up as far as I can, up in the sides there, down the kick panels, all along the floor, pretty much all the way around. And yeah, I definitely laid it up on the floor pans here just to give it a nice thick, heavy sort of coat on it. And around the trans tunnel and all that sort of stuff, all the way up the other side. So yeah, it's all nicely black now. The doors are off. Paint's curing pretty well, pretty happy with how that's going. Little diesel heater's been doing a pretty good job trying to keep it reasonably warm in here, just because it's pretty fresh and it looks like I'm starting to blow smoke, so it is cooling off quite a bit. Definitely happy with how it's come out though, and turned out and whatnot. One thing I did was, while this paint was nice and tacky, I ended up finding the chassis number here, and I actually ran my finger along it and cleaned it pretty much all the way off. Then what I did was I actually got the black zinc from next door, gave it a quick spray over, just sort of a light spray, nothing too heavy. And the reason I did that was, when you go to register it, old mate goes, alright, where's the chassis number? And you go, yeah, it's there. He goes, well, I can't see it, so what are you going to do about it? So then you're in there trying to fiddle around, sanding fresh paint off your nicely painted chassis, and yeah, you end up making a mess of it and sort of wrecks the whole job. But the way I've done it here, I don't actually mind it. Kind of looks a bit like a border, and it'll still be nice and sealed, so it won't go rusty. And it's just really easy to find next time. A idea for anyone that's sort of wondering what to do about that.